Hi, my name is Steve. I'm here with Micron to talk to you a little bit more about our C300 RealSSD and show some of the differences it can have if it's installed in a laptop. What we have set up here are two identical MacBook Pros. This is a 13-inch unibody from about fall 2009. Identical systems except for the drive installed in it. This one on your left has the original 250 gig hard drive. We've cloned that onto a C300 RealSSD and installed that in this system, 256 gigabyte SSD. We're going to show you some of the differences in performance on two identical systems. We'll start with a boot up. As these come up, obviously we're here today to talk about performance, but if you're new to SSDs, there's a lot of other advantages to replacing a hard drive that you might not be aware of. And they all fit really well with mobile systems. First one is power use. SSDs don't have any moving parts, and they tend to use a lot less power than a hard drive. And you'll notice in the boot up here, the SSD just came up, hard drive's still working. Other advantages are reliability and durability, and a lot of that has to do with the way they're manufactured. And you'll notice the hard drive system finally came up. And what we have here is the inside of a 256 gigabyte C300 SSD, just like is installed in this system. You'll notice there's a controller and then just NAND flash chips. And this is where all the data is stored. And this is why they are really not susceptible to shock, vibration, movement the way a hard drive is. A hard drive has moving platters, heads, things in very tight tolerances that don't like to be shaken around. The danger that they could crash into each other or you get a hard drive failure. And it's really something that makes a big difference on mobile systems like these, which are always being picked up and moved, thrown into bags, carried around. What we're going to show you today are just some really simple applications. First one here, I'm going to select a couple Word files on the desktop, and we're going to open those up in Word. We're going to start now. And you'll notice the SSD just gets to that splash screen instantly and is already loading up the two documents. Hard drive looks like I forgot to start it, but I didn't. Splash screen just now came up, and it's working to load everything, and it'll get the documents loaded here in a minute. And with all these tests, that's what you're really going to notice is just an instant snap in how quickly things load and display. I'm going to hide these, get them out of the way. But it's kind of the performance difference with an SSD. Things just respond very, very quickly. The second test, we have a set of JPEGs in a folder here. It's about 100 megabytes of content. I'm going to open these up, select all the files on both machines. We're going to open them in Adobe Photoshop. And again, you'll notice SSD responds instantly, already starts opening images 1, 2, 3 through the list. Hard drive is still trying to load the application and is finally starting to open some of the folders here, while all of these images on the SSD drive are already open. And again, it's a performance difference. You're going to notice any application, anything that's loading from the disk, any disk-intensive task, you're going to see this. We're going to quit out of these and get them out of the way. Next test is very basic. Down this folder at the bottom happens to be video files, but it's basically a gigabyte of content. Could be any kind of data. We're just going to do a basic duplication of the file. We're going to start that right now. As these copy, you're going to notice the SSD taskbar goes much, much faster. Through 3/4 of the way, almost done, and the hard drive is not even halfway yet. And a lot of the reasons at Micron we feel we have a clear advantage in the SSD space is because we're NAND designers, and it's something we think you're going to see more clearly in the years ahead as SSDs get faster and more difficult to design. You'll notice this is all Micron NAND on here, and it happens to use an interface specification called ONFI, which is a high-speed spec that handles the output coming out of the chips. Our engineers sit on the ONFI board and help determine that specification and have a lot of insight into how NAND is best going to work. And we think that has a huge advantage in how our SSDs are designed, how we build the firmware. Just goes to overall performance, and it's going to have an even bigger advantage as the years go by. The last thing I want to show you here is just not necessarily a real-world thing at all, but in this folder are aliases to basically the rest of the applications I haven't launched on the machine. 27 different items, and we're just going to select these all and launch them all at once. Not something you do real world, but again, just a fun indicator of how much faster an SSD is, and we'll start them now. And you'll notice the dock is just bouncing with applications as the SSD starts ripping open all these programs, and hard drive is still working to resolve the aliases, and it's going to take a while to get through all of these. And again, what we showed you here was not meant to be a performance test. This is just, say you took your system at home, put a C300 RealSSD in, what kind of difference are you going to see? And because we didn't optimize this at all. This is a standard working system, had about 140 gigs of data on it. We just cloned the drive and put it in. What we would love to see is hear from you some applications you're doing that are really disk intensive that would make a difference, not just the everyday stuff, but workflows like, say, if you're a video editor and you've got a couple of hard drives in a RAID, or a code compiler, anything that's a really hard drive write-intensive task. Reply to this video in the comments, or better yet, send us a video update. Let us know what your system is, what programs you're running, what your workflow is, and if we get enough interest, we'll set up a demo and show you the kind of difference that a C300 could make in your system and your workflow and day-to-day. It's really impressive. These were just small examples, but the performance difference is really impressive. And I think you'll find once you are able to go to an SSD, there's really no looking back. You don't want to go back to a hard drive ever again. Thanks for watching. And if you have any comments or questions, please post them to micronblogs.com.